the idea of adding more gratitude right now in the way that you are spotlighting your team, spotlighting how you serve customers, and just up leveling the I don't know, just like the tone and the way that you're talking about yourself and the people around you, that's going to come across so much better right now, especially when the feed is so full of negativity.
Well, hey, welcome back to the Amanda Kaufman Show, and we're going to talk social media. It is the topic that every entrepreneur loves to hate talking about, unless, of course, you're really good at it, like my guest, Sean Teasley. Sean and I met through our networks, and I was really blown away with her genuine way that she just connects, but there's also a bit of a system behind it. Let me tell you a little bit about Sean. She's a marketing and social media strategist, and she is passionate about digital marketing. She loves storytelling using social media, and most especially LinkedIn these days. She's loving it. She's the owner of Social Tonic. She consults, trains, and mentors teams, helping businesses streamline their marketing. She will do it for you, or she will train your team to do it for you. She's dedicated to supporting startups and entrepreneurs, and she offers strategic advice and creative solutions. She loves helping brands establish their presence and grow with confidence. Her approach makes marketing strategic. I like strategies. That's fun. Sustainable. Yes, please. And low stress. And if there's one topic that is guaranteed to this raise some hackles at a business networking event, it's going to be the shoulds around social media. So, hey, Sean, welcome to the show.
Hi, Amanda. Thank you. Yes, there's so many shoulds on social media
Oh my
for
gosh. Well, what's the
entrepreneurs
truth?
specifically.
Yeah, well, tell us about it. Like, what do you think? What do you think is driving, all the shoulds, and like, should there be shoulds?
I think if you think about how you want to present yourself on social media, just your whole digital presence, and release the shoulds completely, it just gives you freedom to be who you are and to tell your story, your founding story, your entrepreneurial journey, all of it in a tone that's just matches the pace and the vibe that's behind your company. And so I have so many discovery calls that are, I know I should be doing it this way, or I know I should be on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and Facebook. Wow, that's a lot. Do you really think that all of your clients are all in all of those places? And let's just pick like one, maybe two that are the primary platforms for you. So a lot of times the shoulds just come across of like, I need to be everywhere, and that's just not true. Like we need to think about where your avatar, your ideal customer is actually spending time and where they want to meet you online as well and be there.
That's interesting. So, how do you know that? How can you find out where your person is most likely hanging out? And also, what makes that so important?
Well, so let's scroll back to building your customer avatar. So, when in that process, like I love this one example of we work with a lot of travel brands. And so, when we're trying to get into the mindset of the ideal person who's going to be booking a vacation, a lot of times it's the woman, the mother of the family. And she's taking into consideration that, like, on average, she might have two kids, she's got one dog, there's at least one gluten allergy in the family, and they need somebody to care for their plants when they're gone, their plants. And so there's a lot that goes into that. And so you put yourself in that person's shoes. And in this case, this mom is 45 and she lives in Tennessee. You break it down to all of the really nitty gritty specifics and then you put yourself there. Okay, this person is likely on Instagram, but is she looking for travel opportunities and travel inspiration on Instagram? Yeah, she is. Versus, is she doing that over on LinkedIn? Maybe not. That's not probably where she's looking for that. So it's really diving in. And this is way before we even really think about social media and all of the aspects of marketing in general. But who is this person? And there actually might be three. They're like creating these customer avatars. You could have multiples, like especially if we're thinking through like we work with a lot of software companies, and there might be three decision makers. There's the engineer, there's the CFO, and there's also the CEO that's involved in it. And so we have to think it through those avatars and where those people spending time and expecting to hear from you and see your storytelling about your business.
It's so good. It's really understanding what are those underlying behaviors, you know? Another, avatar that came to mind as you were talking about the mom traveling, I'm like, there's a lot of moms that Pinterest, right? But there's also a lot of moms who
Hmm.
don't Pinterest, right? Like, I'm not much
Right.
of a Pinterester personally, but I know a lot
Hmm.
of moms just, through the years that they love Pinterest, and it's very much like a part of their behavior and their routines, but their life circumstances are also very different, so their preferences are informed very differently, you know? A lot of the moms that I know, for example, are not entrepreneurs. So, as an entrepreneur, I spend a bunch of time on LinkedIn, right? Or Facebook. I'm always on Facebook connecting with other entrepreneurs. But again, like those behaviors of this mom might be very different than the behaviors of another mom that's preparing for a similar trip. And what's funny is like I still in my case it's less so plants, more so cats, but still need like things taken care of, right? So it's so good like when you really do understand the avatar. Thinking about avatars and social media and creating content, one of the things I've noticed when I'm talking to entrepreneurs about this, they seem to get a lot of anxiety about even getting the avatar right. They're second guessing like, have I really got this nailed? Am I offering them the right thing? Am I having the right conversation? What would you say to that person who maybe is hesitant to just like buckle down and choose?
Well, I think one of the easy it's not easy actually, but a go-to place is to do some customer interviews, to dive in. And then maybe it's not you. Maybe you are using a marketing person to help do some of this research where they can ask about who these people are and get into a thorough questionnaire about understanding their behaviors, their values, and how they make decisions that would really guide you in a way. And also, I mean, it's kind of a two for one. When you conduct an interview like that, it actually can turn into great case study material for your website as well. You can just say Amanda Kay and put that as the client, and you don't have to go into the huge amount of details, but it's kind of a double whammy in the sense of like, you're getting all of this really great information through this in-depth interview, and you sit down and really think about the questions that you want to be asking to get. And then also it can turn into repurposing all of that for social media, for your case study, for your SEO, all kinds of things.
It really is like that domino action. If you topple this domino of having this clear avatar that you're speaking to, then everything that happens downstream becomes clearer. And I really appreciated you calling out. It's not easy because I mean, if it was, everybody would do it, right? And it would be a no-brainer. But a lot of people, like I said, they're hesitant to commit. They're struggling with like the perfectionism of what do I get this, what if I get this wrong? So yeah, I love that. Let's talk a little bit about social media. What do you think is the main reason that most entrepreneurs they think they have to do everything themselves perfectly rather than hiring somebody to do it? What do you think is the
Okay,
biggest reason?
this is an overarching conception in general. So many times we have clients that come to us and they're like, we want to outsource our social media because we don't have the time and the energy and we don't want to truck along with the algorithms and the changes and things. And so in just the idea of like outsourcing social media versus outsourcing any of these marketing tasks is that the misconception is nobody's going to do it as good as you.
Mm,
But I challenge you on that is when you find somebody who gets your industry, who listens and like witnesses what you are doing and truly tracks, you can release that control. It might take you a few interviews finding the right person. For instance, we had this client that was in the travel industry. It was a sober travel retreat center in Guatemala, very specific. And they found us. Two of our team members have been to Antigua, Guatemala. I don't drink. We service the travel industries. It was just kind of like click, 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 click. All of the things where she, as a therapist and an entrepreneur, felt very secure in knowing that we get it and that we can work on her behalf. So it's really asking around because if you are in a collaborative network of people, you can ask, hey, who have you resourced in this way? But really making sure that it's somebody that understands you because they can carry it forward and releasing just the misconception that nobody is going to do it as good as you. They aren't going to do it exactly the way that you're going to do it. However, they might bring some extra things and they will get it done and you will get the information that you need.
Sean, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur yourself, can you actually share with us? Have you always known that, or have you experienced for yourself and learned the power of intentional delegation, not willy nilly, but finding the right people to do the job and give you leverage?
So, in my entrepreneurial journey, I was a solopreneur for many years. And then when I decided, okay, I'm really ready to build this team, I'm ready to not feel alone, and I would love to be able to delegate some things so that not everything is falling to my plate. It took me 3 times to find the right person for my first right hire. Think similarly to me, but in enough of a different way that it actually brings a lot of extra juiciness to how we operate. And then giving her space and trust to go and do the things. So, for instance, I love this question because it highlights a very intimate side of who we are and who I am on social media as well. Is that we get this question all the time. I can never turn over my social media to an agency, to anyone else because nobody thinks like me. And we were like, okay, how do we prove this in the most authentic way? Well, we had somebody from my team take over my social media and do it for me. And it gave us even a bigger glimpse into this. So we get feedback all the time when we take over somebody's social because we are so thorough in understanding who people are and to have that momentum of their voice moving forward, we'll get things back like, oh my gosh, one of my biggest compliments was, oh my gosh, this sounds exactly like me, but maybe actually 10% better. Like, I love what you're putting out there on social media. But we have so many people that are like, no, you'll just never get it right. And so what we did is we created a social media plan for Sean, having my team support me. And what was so interesting about this is that I made the assumption that one of my team members was going to just know exactly how I wanted it, and we didn't follow our own process. And the first month, I was like, that content is not spot on. Like, it's close,
That is
but
not
it is
spot on. I
not
love how you
spot
put
on.
that.
I literally like stood back in this meeting because a lot of times I stand up in some of our meetings. And I was like, dang, how did this not go right? And my teammate was like, well, we didn't follow our own process. Oh my gosh, you're right. So
Love
next,
when it's a very identifiable. It's like, well, darn, like it was we did it, we didn't do it, we didn't do it this time. I love it when it's discoverable like that. I want to loop back to something you said to
yeah.
just because it's just been this niggling open loop in my head. So you said that when you very first went to hire someone, it took you 3 tries. So
Hmm.
was it like I found 3 candidates? Or was it more like I found a person, I hired that person, I worked with that person, we went through it, and then I
Hmm.
realized it wasn't going to work and I started all freaking over again? Like,
Yep.
I have to imagine
Second.
it was the second one, yeah?
Totally was. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I just wanted to say that out loud for the listener because I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there who maybe like it's like, okay, well, I'll do like virtual assistant, and like they underutilize even the virtual assistant.
Yeah.
Because what you're talking about is a skill, letting go of something, but also not over letting go. Because
Right.
sometimes when you're first starting out, you're just so relieved at the idea that like you don't have to be the one all the time, that
Hmm.
it can show up as not paying close enough attention, and then bad things happen and you blame yourself, right? So that's very
Hmm.
normal.
It
And
is.
and I'm so curious as you went through like the 3 hires, uh, to get easier?
It did get easier. And I've noticed, in my 40s and dating, there's this parallel that's happening where you like look for this thing that you think is right. And then that one wasn't right. So you go to the other end of the spectrum because you're like, oh, well, that didn't work out. So I'm going to go over here. So I started with hiring more of a virtual assistant, executive assistant. And I was like, oh, she didn't have enough marketing skills. Her like eye for aesthetic was not there. So then I hired a graphic designer who is very artistic and more like painter qualities than graphic design, logo design kind of person. And so I went way, way far from the other ends of the spectrum. And then I came back to the middle and I hired a marketing generalist. And that was the perfect fit, is someone in between. Like she got the long form of writing, but she had the aesthetic eye for all of that. And so you kind of just kind of come back. And after two
Mhm.
hires, that third one landed in the middle.
Yeah, and you raised such a great point too. When it comes to like the role design things, and we'll come back to a little more social media in a sec. But just really quick, like when you are still not a seven-figure business or you're not multi seven figures, the temptation can be to get hyper specialized. But with specialization, that does come with a cost. You do have to compensate that person for their speciality, but it also means that you don't have budget available for tactical side. Right. And just like the doing bit. So yeah, finding that sweet spot. And if you're building a social media strategy, coming back to your genius zone, that's non-negotiable, I would say, in 2026. Like a business must have presence, at a very minimum presence on social media. What do you wish more businesses just had as like a baseline minimum?
I think right now there's a lot of complexities of when you're scrolling through on social media, right? And it feels negative and it feels kind of triggering. And so the idea of adding more gratitude right now in the way that you are spotlighting your team, spotlighting how you serve customers, and just up leveling the I don't know, just like the tone and the way that you're talking about yourself and the people around you, that's going to come across so much better right now, especially when the feed is so full of negativity. So that's one thing. I think, you know, there are things that are absolutely private and that shouldn't be on social media. But having somebody to kind of come alongside of you and think, like, okay, oh, let's tell a little bit of that story because that story can go a long way. So divulging enough, we're not going to be divulging all of your trade secrets on your social media. However, hey, sneak peek, we're releasing a new roadmap to this software this week or whatever is a way to carry people along on the journey with you. And at the same time, you can do the shout outs to the engineers, to the developers that are really working hard. And then that shows what the vibe of your company is and the intelligent resources that you have. And so like there's this magnetic feel to storytelling in that way.
I love it. Sean, what I heard you had a little treat for our listeners. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So on our website, we have put together a quiz to help you understand because we work with clients in a couple of different ways. Like you said at the start of the episode, is that we either can do social media for you, we can train somebody to really take it and have the analytics and the understanding, or we can help you just with the strategy piece. So when you come over to our website and you go through our quiz, it helps you understand like what is your baseline? Where could you use some more help and assistance? What you were talking about in the hiring piece too is that sometimes when you hire a little bit more of a generalist, then you can resource some of the strategic power partners or consultants as well, and then bring somebody in to just beef up what you have and are doing really well. So, anyways, through the quiz, it helps you understand where you're at and then how to move forward.
Really super cool. So, listener, we'll make sure to have that link in the show notes below. Sean, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah. Thanks, Amanda, for this conversation.
Yes, my pleasure. And dear listener, don't forget to grab that link below. We've also got Sean's other details below if you'd like to see what she's doing on social media. And don't forget to subscribe. I will keep posting about the episodes coming out on whatever channel you found us on, but you don't want to miss a thing. So make sure you hit subscribe. And if you've been enjoying the show, make sure you stop by and give us a little review. Those 30 seconds help other people decide if they want to spend time with us. Thank you so much for being here today. And I also hope that this was super helpful. You can share the episode with a couple of your entrepreneurial friends who are working on making their social media even better and maybe don't want to spend hours and hours and hours a week doing it. All right, my friends, we'll see you on another episode. And until then, do what matters.